Hey everybody, welcome to your How Good is the World Today update for September 23rd. Today is a Wednesday. We got three stories for you today. Russia, China, and Marco Rubio. If you want to learn more about them, check out howgoodistheworld.com, but I'm going to give you a little brief overview of the three. So, let's start with China. Today, the president of China is in Seattle. He's making his way kind of across the country over to Washington, D.C., where he's going to meet with Obama on Friday. Fucking awesome week for Obama, by the way. How fucking badass is this? He's meeting with the Pope today and tomorrow, and then on Friday, after the Pope leaves, he's going to meet with China. Between the two of them, he's meeting with the leader of about 3 billion people. Basically half the world. And then, you add in America, he's got like half the world's money, so he's pretty much a baller this week. But anyways, Xi Jinping, Seattle, meeting with a whole bunch of tech leaders. When you talk about China and tech, you're talking about cybersecurity. So the Chinese government has been accused of hacking into American government stuff, and they had this massive data breach of the Department of Defense where they stole millions of people's, basically their entire lives and all their secrets. It came out today that also there were like 6 million fingerprints that went over with the with all that data. But anyways, also a lot of like economics cybercrime where they're stealing company secrets from people and then giving them to Chinese companies so they can make knockoff versions of these like private patented things that American companies have. So one of the main issues on the agenda for Xi Jinping and Obama when they meet is going to be, can they work out some kind of cybercrime agreement? Can they come up with some plan that stops all this back and forth hacking? I mean, a lot of people are saying that cyber war is like the future of war, and obviously we'd like to stop that, even if we tried to do the same thing before World War I, where we agreed to not use all the new future technology, and then we actually went to war, and then that all went out the window. But anyways, point is, talking about China, what we've got is Xi Jinping meeting with all these people, and he's sort of promised, he's playing it very much like China is the victim, not the instigator. Like China is equally committed to avoiding to sharpening cybersecurity. They're equally committed to ensuring a strong future for our two prosperous nations. He's being very, very conciliatory. Honestly, it has this feel to me of like shucking and jiving. Like, he's talking about how much he loves House of Cards. He's like, yeah, no, I love white people. White people are the best. It feels forced to me and kind of inauthentic, but I'm not there. I wasn't talking to the guy, so we'll see. But he's playing it very much like peace and prosperity for all going forwards. Meanwhile, back in China, their PMI purchasing managers index, basically a measurement of how much shit's getting made. If it's 50 or above, it's more shit than before, and if it's below, it's less shipping than before. Fell to 47, which is like a 6-year low. Bad news. Also, news coming out about how much like they're exporting like a record amount of diesel because they were going to use it for shit, and then everyone didn't stop making shit, so there's nothing to use the diesel for. So the Chinese economy still struggling. They added this new transparency measure that's like a big deal to the IMF. One of their main long-term strategy goals is to get added to this special basket of currencies the IMF uses to like exchange money and keep the world flowing as they're supposed to. So if China could get into that, it's a huge step forward for legitimizing their economy as like maybe not a replacement for the IMF. I mean, to quote Xi Jinping today, he doesn't want to overturn the world economic order, just wants to modify it a bit, just wants to add China in there next to the US. So steps to being taken on that direction, even as he's saying, we are friends, we come in peace. It's not a Chinese accent, but if I did a Chinese accent, it'd be racist, so let's stick with whatever thing I just did. Moving on to Russia, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey met with Putin today, along with Mahmoud Abbas of Palestine. Russia is, as we've been talking about, ramping up their operations in Syria, and basically the word coming out of the Kremlin today is we are going to start bombing ISIS in Syria, whether the U.S. agrees to coordinate with us or not. Now, the U.S. obviously also bombing ISIS in Syria, and you'd think they'd love to coordinate with the Russians, but there's two problems. Number one, after Ukraine, the U.S. is kind of hesitant to encourage Putin to use his military. We just don't really trust him enough. And number two, the big one, Russia is one of Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, one of his like biggest supporters. It's basically like, so there's two kind of alliances over there. There's us, the Saudis, and the Syrian rebels. There's Russia, Iran, and Bashar al-Assad, and then there's ISIS. And so all three are kind of, us and Russia and Assad, we're on better terms than ISIS is with anyone, but we don't want to see this side win either. So we're now really willing to coordinate with Russia in launching these attacks, which is kind of scary because, you know, if the two aren't coordinating and they're flying bombers over here and they're flying bombers over here and something gets messed up and we accidentally shoot down one of their planes or kill one of their guys, and all of a sudden we're in the tensest situation of the last 60 years. So hopefully they come to some kind of agreement. Apparently, and this is not confirmed, but apparently Russia is even offering to kind of transition away from the Assad government, which would be huge to us. We should really like that. But for some reason, it seems like we're not moving forward on these plans. So Russia is going to bomb Syria. We might be doing it with them, or we might be sort of, you know, adversarially like, no, we're the better bombers. No, we're the better bombers. It might be a situation like that. So we're going to have to see how that one plays out. Finally, real quick, American Republican presidential campaign update for you. Scott Walker dropped out because no one liked him a few days ago. We, you know, already moved on from that. The question, of course, is he had a lot of big donors in his pocket, and it seems like about 2/3 of them have ended up in the Marco Rubio camp. In my mind, right now, this race is really between Marco Rubio and Carlo Fiorina. Obviously, Donald Trump, the front runner, looking best, everyone's favorite dude. No real reason to say that he's not going to actually clinch the nomination. In fact, one poll I saw today said 20% of people, regardless of how they feel personally, think that Donald Trump is going to end up winning the presidential election. So. And sorry, I should mention 20%, which is second to Hillary Clinton at 28%. So it's Hillary Clinton 28, Donald Trump 20, and I think it was Bernie Sanders 5. So he is obviously still a force to be reckoned with. But in my mind, this is a Marco Rubio, Carlo Fiorina primary right now. Marco Rubio, Cuban-American, Tea Party member, but who's got, you know, some reason in his mind. He's like a thinking person. So he's kind of, you know, able to draw from these, you know, big donors who are supporting Scott Walker. He's also able to talk to, you know, the super conservative folk. And he's he's Cuban American, which is not the biggest segment of the Latino population in America, but it gives him some cred with Latinos, which after Donald Trump's whole campaign is something Republicans are desperately going to need. The white vote is, of course, declining as a percentage of the electorate. Last year it was 72% or so. Before that it was like 75%. So we're looking at something like 70% white. Basically, if the Republicans want to win, they have to sharply increase their appeal to minority voters, which they've been doing an excellent job of not doing whatsoever. So putting a guy named Rubio at the top of their ballot could actually be great for them. So could putting a woman. That's one of the main reasons I think Fiorina is a legitimate candidate. So we're of course gonna have to see how this plays out. But Marco Rubio is on the rise. If he were a stock, you should buy it. I believe he and Fiorina are tied at 9% or so in the polls. So really, you know, up in the air between them. That's about it for news. Not really any little stories I want to fill you in on. The Pope talked about climate change and, you know, all that jazz. Did as he was supposed to. Colombia's started coming close to, you know, putting to rest their long-standing rebellion. The coup in Burkina Faso is officially over. The old president is back in charge. That's about it for you. So keeping us holding at 71. I will talk to you tomorrow. We will see how it goes. Have a wonderful whatever time of the day it is. Adios.